Welcome to the Manifest Your Masterpiece podcast. My name is Farah Fisher, and I am a manifestation expert, mindset educator, and lifelong creator. If you're looking to massively uplevel your life, relationships, finances, and success, you're in the right spot. I'm on a mission to serve up fresh, hot tools, resources, strategies, concepts, and stories to guide you towards the life you've always dreamed of but never thought was possible. This podcast is your weekly mindset development toolkit to help you maximize your power to live your life by design. It's time to unleash the creator within by tapping into your truly infinite potential. Thank you so much for pressing play, and now let's begin. Welcome back to the Manifest Your Masterpiece podcast. You guys, I'm so excited to talk about this because this topic has been coming up in my mind and with my clients. It's such an important issue to address, especially in today's world. Today, I'm going to be diving into getting to know who you want to be and giving you the steps to achieve that by defining your future self. The truth is, we are defining our future in every present moment, not only with our vibrations, or in other words, our emotions, but we're also defining our future with the choices that we make on a moment-by-moment basis. Let me just clear that up for you really quick and explain what I mean by moment by moment. Every single moment, we are making decisions. But cognitively speaking, 95% of our daily actions are through our subconscious mind, and only 5% of our actions are expressed consciously, which means that we are applying mental strength to complete a task. The goal of our subconscious mind is to make things easier for us by developing habits based on what we, number one, continue to do, or two, keep telling ourselves, which are essentially the same thing. The real change makers utilize the power of their subconscious mind to develop meaningful and productive habits so that 95% of their day is spent on autopilot, and they're getting so much more accomplished than the person who blindly lives out each day in their habitual subconscious mind. On a conscious level, though, decisions really do matter. This is where change begins to form. Getting to the change isn't easy at first because it requires discipline, and having that discipline isn't always easy or fun. But eventually, the conscious effort put in to making a change develops into a habit, and you no longer need the discipline to practice the meaningful change or habit. It literally just becomes absorbed into your subconscious mind as a habit. Isn't that crazy? Let me bring you into a conscious decision-making story. I could be working at a job that I've been at for a couple of years, but it's become stale, and I've been ready to break up with this job for a while now. I've developed a subconscious habit to stay at this job because I've kept it up. I made the conscious decision to keep sticking it out, and so now I am literally in the echo chamber of this job. But suddenly, I consciously decide to literally walk up out of my job and pack up my apartment and move to Brazil. Okay, this is a really drastic example, but I think you get the point. Every moment, our decisions are what we choose to do to create our future. However, it's important to remember that 95% of our daily existence is on autopilot, and this is where problems can occur. We can write the stories of our futures simply by existing and choosing to make conscious decisions. This is where the idea of consciousness comes into play. If we live our lives on a subconscious basis, we are literally living out of our lack mindsets, poor habits, and habitual patterns that do not serve us. When we make conscious decisions, we use rationality and brain power to create a new experience, more often with good intention than not. This is how positive future outcomes are created. Our futures are not based on our past unless we allow the negative subconscious behavioral patterns to rule our thinking, okay? When we make conscious decisions to improve our thoughts, improve our words, and improve our actions, that is when the real change comes in. No, it's not always going to be sexy. No, it's not always going to be easy, but it's rewarding. It's really, really rewarding, and it's really easy to stay stuck in habitual routine. especially if the routine that you have brings you some sort of comfort, even if it's wallowing in your lack mentality, or even if it's feeling like you belong with the crowd at work that also complains about their shitty job. No, that's not what you really want, is it? You don't want to be continuing to talk about the shitty job that you hate. You want to go forward. You want to grow out of that. You want to get out of that crowd. You want to move up. You want to move up in your life. If you do not create conscious decisions to alter your reality in the way that you desire, then your entire future will literally be based on your past or what you decide to do in the next moment. If you do not create conscious decisions to alter your reality in the way that you desire, then your entire future will literally be based on your past and all of the limiting beliefs that you have adopted. You will claim and you will continue to argue for your limiting beliefs, which is absolutely neurotic and insane. Oh, my parents are poor, and so I am destined to be poor for the rest of my life. Or my dad was a lawyer, so now I have to become a lawyer. Please do yourself and all of us else a favor and never base what your future holds based on what your past looks like. You can actually live a life that you've never lived before. In fact, every day is so new that you cannot possibly expect what is to come. Surely you might have a mundane schedule. You may wake up in the morning, make your coffee, get dressed, take a shower, take the train or your car to your job, where you sit for 8 hours and then you leave slightly mentally exhausted. And then you go home, take the train for 45 minutes, walk up your 3-story walk up, and suddenly you find that your feet need a nice salt soak. But then suddenly a friend calls. You haven't heard from them in 5 years. They invite you out to dinner that night. You're exhausted, tired, and achy. Part of you wants to say no, but you make the conscious decision to say yes. So you get back on the train and you take a nice chilled walk down the sidewalk to a restaurant where there's a table full of beautiful people. One of them is your friend from 5 years ago. You get to know everyone there, and it turns out that, hey, by the end of the night, you have a crazy huge crush on someone sitting at your table, and they seem to like you too. You guys carry on the conversation really well, sitting next to each other, and look at that. 3 months later, you are in the happiest relationship you've ever been in with that person from the dinner. I know this was an elaborate story, but I just wanted to make a point that your decisions matter. Your choices matter. If you wouldn't have went out, you may have been stuck in an echo chamber routine, which is the habitual and behavioral patterns of your subconscious mind. With that being said, it's extremely relevant to mention that the people you surround yourself with matter, okay? You are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. So, who is that? I firmly believe that it's important to surround yourself with people that truly match up to your goals, or at least full-heartedly support you, whether they are present for the goal process or the finished goal itself. Lately, I've been reflecting on my own focus and where it's leading me. A lot of my clients have come to me recently with an issue of focus. They want to get things done, but for some reason they can't. They claim to be distracted. They claim that it's hard to commit. And I'd like to remind you that we have been evolving over thousands of years, and we've come from a basic animalistic version of ourselves that functions purely on instinct. Not only are we instinctual beings, but nowadays we have so much happening around us that of course our focus is fucking scattered. There's way too much stimulation. There's so much happening in our lives, let alone our past that we need to deal with. The inner work that hasn't been done, the projection that we create in our lives to other people and our situations. If we cannot get a grasp on our focus and make the proper conscious decisions to form a viable and fruitful future for ourselves, we are just going to be lost in our own echo chamber of our habitual and behavioral patterns. We are going to be stuck standing at the entrance of the tunnel. If you're looking at the tunnel, there's a light at the end. Yeah, the tunnel is really dark and there's no other way out. You have to go through the tunnel to get to the light. There's gonna be monsters in there. There's gonna be darkness in there. But by making the conscious decision to get in there and to commit to something greater than yourself and commit to getting out on the other side alive, That is change. That is commitment. That is conscious decision making. By declaring your power over your actions and your focus, this is your highest self coming through. Okay, but what is the highest self and what does that even mean? So, your highest self is the version of you that has all good intentions, takes the necessary action to be healthy, kind, and abundant. The version of you that goes above and beyond. They're fearless, shameless, and brave. They are kind, intelligent, centered, focused, and they have everything you could ever want. I like to consider my higher self as my future self. To me, I want them to be the same thing. I'll be interchanging the two throughout this episode, so if you hear higher self or future self, that means the same thing. But by thinking of the best version of myself tangible within my future, this gives me something to focus on, something to head towards, something to mold myself around, even if it takes years trying to perfect the highest self version. And the truth is, as you start to work on yourself and you start to pay attention and work towards your elevated sense of being, the concept of your highest self is going to evolve. It's going to be a never-ending journey of inner work and self-improvement. And that's the way it should be. You should never settle for one thing. You should never settle for one goal and that's it. You should always strive for more. Why? Why? Because that's the nature of this planet. Evolution is the only way that life will thrive. If something doesn't evolve, it just dies. And if you find yourself not evolving in this life, you find that you feel stagnant. And when you feel stagnant, that's when you know it's time for change. The idea of you in the future being absolutely everything that you could ever want is not really that abstract. Going back to decision making, every single decision that you make is either serving your future self or it's not. And the future can actually be considered as the next moment. When we say a future, a lot of people instantly think, like 1 year from now, 5 years from now. But really, the future is unfolding as we continue breathing. You ever hear the saying, the future is now? You do not have to wait to meet your highest self face to face. This communion between you and the highest version of you, the highest and most amazing and most confident and most revolutionary version of you, doesn't have to wait until tomorrow. It doesn't have to wait until a year from now. In my program, Total Manifestation, I talk a little bit about quantum manifesting and about jumping into a reality in any moment that you want. This involves letting go of any expectations of yourself in the moment or any fears, doubts, or false beliefs that you're carrying. And it means that you get to choose the reality you desire and hop right in. In one moment, you might be sitting at your desk, whimpering about your crappy job or fearful about your bank account or thinking about whatever has you down. But then you consider that your higher self exists in a reality which is tangible. You actually are able to turn off all of the false beliefs, all of the fear, all of the unnecessary baggage that you carry, and you can actually close your eyes, open your mind, and step into that version of yourself. This means feeling confidence in your bones. This means feeling healthy and vibrant and intelligent and knowing that everything you need is already fulfilled. And the longer you can hold on to that version of yourself, the stronger the impact will be on your immediate physical reality. If you keep holding on to that, maybe just for 17 seconds minimum, but longer if you can, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, right before you go to bed, as soon as you wake up, think about this version of yourself. Who do you want to play out into your day? Who do you want to be today? What do you want to do? Your entire world would open up just the moment you'd consciously decided to step into the shoes of the person that you want to be. But in a lot of cases, it's not as easy as this for everyone. Sometimes it can be hard to even know what your future self or higher self looks like if you felt like shit for so long and have been eaten alive by the limiting beliefs that have latched onto you. When you are so deep into the hole of darkness, it can be hard to see who you really want to be. In the past year, I learned about an exercise that has really helped me to understand my higher self or my future self, and it's really astonishing. There's a link in the show notes to a special worksheet I made according to this exercise. The link is www.mym.podia.com/future self. You can go grab it for free and follow along. You can pause the episode if you need. Once you have the worksheet present, the first step of this exercise is to clearly define, detail by detail, what you want to give to your future self. Now, remember, we're not referencing the amount of money you have in your bank account right now, okay? This is a limitless reality. This is pretend for right now, okay? Let's play pretend. Say, for example, your future self lives in a huge house with a 3-car garage and takes multiple vacations a year and has an amazing career that helps the world and has a loving partner, and the list goes on, right? Like, there's so many things, so many desires that you could list. Go all out here, okay? There are no boundaries or parameters. You have every right to have and desire whatever you want. Once you've identified what your future self looks like and what your future self has, then the next step is to write a letter to your future self. You could ask for guidance. You could explain the way you feel to your future self. I recommend getting personal, okay? I recommend getting honest, and I recommend asking for advice. Ask your future self advice and guidance on whatever you need. Once you have written a letter to your future self, you are then going to tap into this limitless, amazing, brave, strong, intelligent version of yourself that is within you, and you are going to write a letter to your present self from your future self. You might be like, oh, hell, how would I do that? Who even is that? What the hell are you talking about? That is exactly how I responded when I first found out about this exercise. It seems weird and it seems far out, but as soon as you allow yourself the space to write and to tap in and access those inner resources that are very present within you, you give all the answers to yourself that you need. You will understand the power of communicating with your higher self. Getting to know your future self is the best way to know where you are going and how to get there. When we don't know where we're going and we don't know why we want to get there, it's really easy to lose our focus. It's really easy to give our time and energy to things that might satisfy us in the moment, but leave us empty in the future. By identifying who you want to be in your future and addressing your future self within the questions that you have, and by getting those questions answered, you will find that your path becomes a little more clear. You will find that your focused energy is the real tool of your personal, professional, and social development. After I defined who I wanted to be, there is one question that I ask myself when I'm lost in my decisions or I don't know where I'm going, and the question is, am I meeting her there? Am I meeting my highest self face to face and mirroring her excellence? Or am I taking the actions needed to meet her there? Am I doing the things that I need to do to be in alignment with her? If you haven't already, go grab the journal prompt on my website at www.mym.podia.com/futureself. Everything is in the show notes. You can grab it there. If you allow yourself to sit down with this prompt with firm intentions, I promise that the results you will discover will be far beyond your expectations. The person you deeply want to become is already present and they're right in front of you. Are you meeting them there? If you like this episode, make sure to screenshot it and post it on social media. You can tag me at Manifest Your Masterpiece, all one word, to let me know what your aha moments were and takeaways were. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. This is a super special episode, and I will catch you next time.